So you're wondering, should you be taking a cruise during hurricane season? Or maybe you've already booked and you've realized you're right in the middle of hurricane season. Should you change your plans? Is it safe? Will your cruise be canceled? These are all great questions. And by the end of this video, I'm going to take you through 5 key things that's going to help you decide on whether or not you should be cruising during hurricane season or not. In addition, I'll let you know 2 things that I regret that I didn't know sooner that would have made my cruising during a hurricane a little more manageable and a lot less stressful. So I have taken over a dozen cruises during hurricane season, and I have 3 more upcoming cruises right in the middle of peak season. This year, there are more predicted named storms than in the past, but most experienced cruisers don't let this threat get in their way of a wonderful vacation. But should you? Let me answer some of your questions so you can make an educated decision. When is hurricane season anyway? Hurricane season in the Caribbean, the Gulf of Mexico, and the Atlantic Ocean officially runs from June 1st through November 30th. The Eastern North Pacific hurricane season starts a little earlier, around May 15th to November 30th. NOAA, the National Weather Service forecasters at the Climate Prediction Center, predict an above normal hurricane activity in the Atlantic Basin this year. They're actually predicting an 85% chance of an above normal season. A summary graphic with an alphabetical list of all of the named hurricanes for this season is listed here. The official start, as mentioned, was back on June 1st, but we're still in it. We're right in the middle because the busiest time is typically between mid-August to late October. So I start watching the weather forecast for the Caribbean about 2 weeks before I leave. I want to be prepared, and I want to understand what's spinning up down there while I'm there. Personally, I love to watch Mr. Weatherman. He is right here on YouTube and provides daily updates with so much insight to what's going on in these regions. But will it be safe? Cruise lines will avoid the weather as much as possible. They will not sail right into the storm. Your crew has been trained extensively to handle these situations. The ships have state-of-the-art technology, which allows your officers to constantly monitor the sea conditions. Royal Caribbean actually recently said, as they made a hurricane update, please know being on board is one of the safest places to be because our ships can quickly move out of the way of inclement weather. You should expect changes to your ports. Maybe you miss a port due to weather conditions. Even the condition of the port, if the storm has just passed through, it can be a culprit of you missing that port and your itinerary being changed on your sailing. So if you're only selecting your cruise vacation based on a specific port, don't go during hurricane season. The cruise line will always make changes, and they do this on the fly based on the current conditions. Their job is to keep you safe, so you might just find yourself redirected around the storm. And if you're flying to your embarkation port, you might want to consider flying there 2 days in advance versus just 1, because if the weather becomes an issue, flight delays may impact your ability to reach the cruise port. If you experience any significant delays, contact your cruise line. Sometimes they're going to see if there's anything they can do to assist, but they're not obligated, and there are no guarantees. I've had to change my travel plans on the fly to get to the ship on time, and it's not fun, and it's very stressful. I'm sure many of you have been in that situation before. So just try to get in there as early as possible. That way you're not stressed out just trying to get to your vacation. Oh, before I forget, I just wanted to welcome all the new folks that are here checking out our content. And if you are a subscriber, thank you for subscribing. But are the seas going to be rough? Will the seas be rough? With any type of tropical weather, you're most likely going to encounter rough seas. How rough can your ship handle? Or how much can you handle for that matter? But fun enough, your ship can outrun a storm, and your ship can attain speeds up to 22 knots or more. Most storms typically move around 8 to 10 knots. But always carry that seasick medication during these cruising months, even if you've never been sick before. Even the best sailors have experienced seasickness at least once. And trust me, it's no fun. I know. Just be prepared. My advice is to start taking seasick medication the day before you leave. I'm not going to go into details here on all the options that you have for that because I have another video. If you need to check that out, I'll post the link in the description below. Will you get a refund if a hurricane ruins your cruise? No. Nope. Read your cruise contract. Bad weather conditions will not result in a refund of your trip. If you happen to miss a port of call, you may be refunded for charges such as your port charges and fees for that one stop. But if you go to an alternative port, or say you stay in another port for multiple days, most likely you're not going to get a refund. This is why travel insurance is so important. Purchase your travel insurance as soon as you book your trip, which is hopefully well in advance of an active named storm approaching. Be sure to read your policy because they're all different and they don't all cover weather conditions. While travel insurance policies often cover the costs of changing a flight or maybe your pre-cruise hotel reservation if there's storm delays for your departure, they generally won't compensate in the case that the cruise line changes the ports of your cruise during a storm. Travel insurance policies won't help either if you cancel the cruise to avoid the storm, unless you bought a policy that states that you can cancel for any reason. So, will your cruise get canceled? Probably not, but it is possible, especially when it comes to weather that you can't control. More likely than a cancellation is that your ship may leave a little early, or it might leave a little late. So you need to make sure that you keep an eye out on your cruise line website and check your emails regularly. They will send you updates. You might even get an extra day out of your cruise. And I know I already mentioned this, but again, start monitoring that weather. I do it, like I said, a week or two before I leave, just so I have an idea of what's happening, where I'm going, mainly because I'm worried about the wave heights. So I take a look at the national forecast and I look at those wave heights. Once I see waves that are exceeding 8 feet, I know I'm in for a rough ride. And for those of you out there that are like me, we get motion sick very easily. Anything above 8 feet, make sure you've got your medication. Recently, Royal Caribbean changed the Liberty of the Seas 9-night cruise to the Caribbean and to Bermuda. I think they went out on August 15th. In order to stay clear of the hurricane, they traveled completely west and south down to Turks and Caicos, and they spent 2 extra days there. If you were on that cruise, let me know how that went. Here are 2 things that I regret that I didn't know sooner that would have made cruising during a hurricane a little more manageable and a lot less stressful. Number 1, your captain is not going to sail right into the storm directly. They are in constant contact with the mainland. I was recently on a ship where we lost power in the middle of the ocean, and we were just out there kind of rocking away. And our captain came on right away and had already told us they've already contacted mainland. They're in communication. You're not out there alone. So this state-of-the-art technology that they have on the ship is going to assist your captain and crew in getting the safest way around that storm. You may not even realize sometimes that you passed a storm or that you were even rerouted. The Caribbean is enormous in comparison to the size of a typical hurricane. So the distance between Belize on the western end of the Caribbean Sea and let's say the easternmost Leeward Islands is nearly 2,000 miles. The hurricane force winds of a typical small hurricane, by contrast, extend about 25 miles from its center. The hurricane force winds from a large hurricane might extend 150 miles from its center. So even a giant hurricane that's bearing down on the U.S. Virgin Islands is likely to have little or no impact to what's happening in the Western Caribbean or the Southern Caribbean that's sailing right now at this time. And if hurricane season is the only time you can possibly go on your cruise, well, one area that is known to foreseeing fewer storms on average is the southern part of the Caribbean. So the southerly islands, the ABC Islands, the Aruba, Bonaire, Curacao, in particular, are far south, and the typical hurricane path that comes off of Africa usually goes right above them. So they usually experience few false storms. Last year I was on a ship and we were heading down that way, and there was a hurricane spinning up around Puerto Rico. We went all the way around and went right down to Aruba. Didn't even see a drop of rain. So chances are you guys are going to be just fine. The second thing that I wish I knew was that the location on your ship matters. Where's your cabin located? How big is your ship? So if I'm on, let's say I'm on an Oasis class ship or, Carnival Mardi Gras, a larger ship, and my cabin is located all the way forward, I'm going to feel the most motion in that spot, especially for someone that's prone to seasickness. All the way in the back, you're going to feel it, but the best place is in the center of the ship. I always try to book a cabin in the center of the ship. You feel it less. And not only should you be booking in the center of the ship, but you want to book a lower cabin. I used to always think it was better to be higher, but I was wrong, especially with the newer ships and the way that they're built, because when the ship starts listing, and that means it, when it starts going a little side to side like that, the higher you are in your cabin, the more you're going to feel it. So the lower the level, the less that you're actually going to feel the rocking of the ship. Now, most of the time on the larger ships, you're not going to feel it as much. A lot of the smaller ships, you're going to get rocked. I'm not going to lie. You're going to get rocked. If you guys like going on roller coasters and you like the amusement park rides, you're great. You're going to be good to go. I've been on several smaller ships, and actually my very first cruise ever was on a Celebrity Meridian. That ship took us right through a hurricane. Now back then, we're talking about the early 90s, they didn't have all the equipment that they have today. We didn't sail directly into the hurricane, but we were pretty close. We all made it, obviously. And if anyone is in my age category and you remember this hurricane, I'd have to look it up. I can't remember which hurricane it was. But the wave heights that we were experiencing were up to 40 feet. And I'm not exaggerating. You can Google it. It was crazy. The entire ship, everybody was sick. The crew was sick. I did not, and I do not know how. I don't know how I didn't get sick. Me and my father sat at this bar. We didn't really have anything to drink because you couldn't even hold a drink because everything just kept sliding from one end to the other. But we were sitting at this bar. We had a bartender, and he had to keep running in the back because he was getting sick, coming back out. And me and my dad were just like looking around, watching people as people were trying to walk down the hallway past us. This ship had those big pillars that kind of, connected the ceiling to the floor. You literally had to grab one and look for another one and then try to get yourself in that direction and get to the next one and hold on to that as you worked your way across the ship. So that was interesting. That was a lot of fun. And after all that, I still got back on a cruise. That was my first cruise. Most people would have been, not doing it again. The smaller ships these days, though, I don't think are built just like that Meridian was built. I was on the Carnival Legend. It wasn't a hurricane that we were in, but it was some bad storms. We had gusts of wind up to 80 miles an hour, and the seas were pretty rough. I think we were in about 14 feet swells out there. I did get sick on that ship for a good day and a half. It was pretty rough. We were midship, maybe towards the back in our cabin, and we were a little bit lower, but that ship was a smaller ship, so we felt that motion a lot. My friend that was with me on that ship, she was fine. She didn't get sick. And I didn't see a lot of people that seemed to be sick. You know it's bad when you're walking down the stairwells and you see the bags hanging on the end. Then you know you're in for a rough ride. That's a sure sign. Also, here's a little tip. They do give out free Dramamine usually at the guest service counter if you don't have any. Instead of going in the store and trying to buy it, stop there first. Many lines will give you seasick medicine right there. One of the ones that I was on actually put a whole basket out for people just to come up and get them. And then also make your way to the buffet. Find a green apple. If you don't see them, ask one of the people that work there if they have any green apples, because I was looking for them when I was feeling bad and I didn't see them. I finally asked and he's like, oh yeah, we have them. He had them down in like a refrigerator or a cooler. Green apples will also help settle your stomach if you need that. So go ahead. Take your cruise. If this is the only time of year you get a chance to get off of work, you deserve a break. You're going to be just fine. Monitor those weather conditions. Make sure you have the right travel insurance. Get down to your cruise port a day or two, if you can, earlier. And let the captain of the ship get you to your destination safely, as they will. And just enjoy your ship. Enjoy your cruise. Enjoy your family. If you're curious about that Carnival ship that I was on, there is a video about that. It's called Blackout on the High Seas. So if you want to take a journey with me on all the crazy stuff that happened on that Carnival ship, I'll put that link down here below as well. That was one crazy cruise. I will just tell you that everything that happened on those 7 days, I don't think I've even had it happen like once here or once there. Everything happened on that sailing in 7 days. It was great. Like, just weird stuff was happening on that cruise. So if you want to laugh, go ahead and take a look at that Carnival Legend video that I have. But just know that we were actually on that sailing the week before the Baltimore Key Bridge fell. And that ship also went right into dry dock about 2 weeks later. So they did get some refurbishments done. So those of you who are looking at that ship wanting to know, if this is the most current look at the inside of the Carnival Legend, there's been a few little upgrades to it. Now, they didn't do a whole lot, but they did some things. But thank you guys for tuning in. I'm going to be out during hurricane season 2 more times this year. And if anything crazy happens, I'm going to report back. But I'm going to just have faith that my crew knows what they're doing. And I've got the right cabin on the right ship, and we're going to have beautiful sunshiny weather, and we're heading on down to the Caribbean. And if you're out there right now, happy sailing. I actually got motion sick making this video. Oh, brother.